Peace be with you. Dear friends, welcome to Living Flame Podcast website and Facebook group. Gospel reflections for Saturday in the 20th week in the ordinary time. Gospel according to Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 to 12. We understand from this gospel passage that Jesus was referring to scribes and Pharisees. The scribes and Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. And Jesus says, therefore, do and observe everything they tell you, but do not act as they act. For they speak, but they do not do. They bind burdens that are heavy and hard to bear and place them on men's shoulders, but they themselves refuse to lift a finger to remove them. Here we see the Jewish conviction of the continuity of the faith. God gave the law to Moses. Moses handed it to Joshua. Joshua transmitted it to the other elders. The elders passed it down to the prophets, and the prophets gave it to the scribes and the Pharisees. It must not for a moment be thought that Jesus is commending the scribes and Pharisees with all their rules and regulations. What he is saying is this: insofar as the scribes and Pharisees have taught you the great principles of the law which Moses received from God, you must obey them. The whole of the Ten Commandments are based on two great principles. They are based on reverence for God, for God's name, for God's day, for the parents God has given to us. They are based on respect for man's life, for his possessions, for his personality, for his good name, and for oneself. These principles are eternal, and insofar as scribes and Pharisees teach reverence for God and respect for men, their teaching is eternally binding and eternally valid. But the other side of their teaching, their whole outlook on religion had one fundamental effect. It made it a thing of thousands upon thousands of rules and regulations, and therefore it made it an intolerable burden. Here is the test of any presentation of religion. Does it make it wings to lift a man up, or a dead weight to drag him down? Does it make it a joy or a depression? Is a man helped by his religion, or is he haunted by it? Does it carry him, or has he to carry it? Whenever religion becomes a depressing affair of burdens and prohibitions, it ceases to be true religion. Now, when Jesus was teaching, we can find a different tone altogether. Jesus always preached compassion, love, forgiveness. He invited people to be peacemakers, meek, humble. He invited them to love one another. And then in his teaching and through his own preaching and through his own practical life, Jesus showed how much to love our neighbors. There is no greater love than laying down one's life for one's friends. Love one another as I have loved you. So all these commandments in some way teach us how Jesus looked at the law and the prophets. And Jesus says to his followers, but you are not to be called Rabbi, for you have one teacher, and you are all students. And call no one your father on earth, for you have one Father, the one in heaven. Nor are you to be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Messiah. The greatest among you will be your servant. All who exalt themselves will be humbled, and all who humble themselves will be exalted. Look at the teaching of Jesus. So there is one God, there is one teacher, that is Jesus himself. He has given us the real ideal, how to be the servant of God and how to be his disciples. And practically he has given the essence of the kingdom of heaven through the Beatitudes, through his parables, through his stories, and through his wonderful sayings. Therefore, dear friends, this part of the gospel passage must inspire us to understand how Jesus is not in any way breaking the law. Jesus is fulfilling the law. He says, the scribes and Pharisees are doing a good thing by informing you, telling you about the law of Moses. But then you should not in any way be like them. Rather, Jesus says, you have to look at me and follow me. If you want to be my disciple, take up your daily cross and follow me. Learn from me, for I am meek and humble in heart. God bless you.